Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, September 15th, 2012. This is episode 909. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces from Citrix. All you need is a webcam and a click to turn your online meeting into a high-definition video conference. Meet with colleagues anywhere in the world, even from an iPad. Sign up for your 30-day free trial today at GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the promo code TECH. And by Ring Central. We do everything in the cloud. That's why I love my cloud-based phone system from Ring Central. Zero startup costs, and Ring Central is just $20 per month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial. Buy one phone, get a second phone free. Up to 20 phones. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use the promo code TWiT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, or Android smartphone. Find out what your gadget is worth and get cash to upgrade to the latest iPhone at Gazelle.com. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about anything with a chip in it. Computers, sure. The internet, sure. Cell phones, digital photography, home theater. We do it all. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. The website, techguylabs.com. That's where we put show notes. Everything's free. I know there are other folks who charge you for stuff. You know, we charge you enough. We make you listen to ads. That's more than enough. That pays us for the content. So the content is free. You can get podcasts, show notes from all 908 shows. Holy cow. This is episode 909. So, and it's the first show of the new era, the iPhone 5 era. We're going to start numbering. I think that in future eons, archaeologists will number our ages by the iPhone. So the iPhone era, the iPhone 3, the iPhone 3G, the iPhone 3GS, the iPhone 4, and now the iPhone 5 era, which is the sixth iPhone. But that, that'll confuse the archaeologists a little bit. But, then they'll look at Windows numbering and they'll say Windows 8 is like the 12th. So obviously these ancients couldn't count anyway. But they could sell crap. They knew how to do it. Holy cow. It's interesting response to the iPhone 5. It is not a big difference, I have to say. If you compare it to the iPhone 4S, it's not like you're going to jump up and down and say, I've got to have one. Although, of course, that's exactly what happened. And if you didn't get online with the Apple Store or the Verizon or Sprint or AT&T store in the first few hours, you're on hold. You're waiting. It's other phone companies must look at Apple and say, what do we have to do? What do we have to do to beat Apple? They announce I guess in this day and age, there's not much you can change. It's not, you're not going to change the world with a phone. It's just going to be evolutionary upgrades. But even this is, okay. So what do? They made the phone one icon row taller. It's 1136 by 640, so exactly the same resolution, across, exactly the same dots per inch, so it's the same exact Retina display. But it's one icon row taller. It's 16 by 9 instead of 4 by 3. And it's, that's good because Apple realizes you'll be watching movies and stuff, and everything that's coming out nowadays is widescreen, so you can watch movies. So might as well make it widescreen. Of course, remember it was Apple that for years said, "Oh, the problem with Android is it's all fragmented. There's all different screen sizes. That's confusing to developers." So what does Apple do? They fragment it. Knox Harrington in our chat room makes an interesting point. If Apple did things to please the tech press, consumers would reject it. That's not true, of course. But the tech press certainly is, like me, is jaded, and we're cynical, bored, sad, lonely little people who, demand more than Apple is willing to give us. Except that Apple does this once a year. Everybody else around them, including Samsung, is out innovating them every few months, and so when you're doing it once a year, you probably should make some bigger steps forward. They did put LTE in it. Now, if you're in a neighborhood and with AT&T, Verizon, or Sprint LTE, this is good. But if you are on Verizon and you were or Sprint, and you were hoping that one of the negatives about Verizon and Sprint compared to AT&T for the iPhone was that you could be on a call on AT&T and still, do data. And, I don't know how often that comes up. It doesn't ever come up for me, but I think some people say, oh, well, no, I'm on a phone call and I want to surf the web at the same time. I don't know. I guess if you're using your phone as a hotspot for your Wi-Fi device, that would be one reason, because any time a phone call came in, your internet connection would be broken. Just like, remember that, the old days when you had dial-up modems? It was like that. And you were online and somebody picked up the phone and it went, oh, get off the phone. I'm working here. Well, it's kind of like that, I guess. Anyway, we were hoping, because LTE, in theory, LTE doesn't do that. Once the carriers go fully to this LTE technology, this long-term evolution, that's what it stands for. It's a meaningless acronym. It's like 3G, third generation, and 4G, fourth generation. It's a meaningless acronym. But that's what they call it, long-term evolution, LTE. Once the carriers go fully LTE, then the voice and the data both are on LTE. They're no longer on CDMA or GSM. I realize this is an alphabet soup, but then everything can be simultaneous voice and data. It won't matter. But just in case you were curious, there are Verizon phones like the 3GS, which is, in my opinion, still the best phone out there, the 3GS from Samsung Galaxy. That will do voice and data, but only does it at the same time on Verizon, but only does it because they have 3 antennas. And Apple just didn't want to put another antenna in. So, yeah, I guess if you're on the phone call and you're doing a map or something, you're saying, well, I don't know where I am. Where am I? You'd have to hang up to see where you are. Things like that. The maps wouldn't load. So don't get your hopes up. They won't do that. Also, I noticed when I signed up for I did. Yeah, I bought one. Of course I bought one. Don't think that just because I'm a little cynical and jaded doesn't mean I didn't buy one. I did wait. I didn't get up at midnight. I know I have friends who did get up at midnight, 12:01 on Thursday to order it. I waited till 8 a.m. I got up in the morning, had a cup of coffee, scrambled an egg, and then I ordered. And it's interesting because I just got in under the wire. Apple had already back ordered them, and I was ordering on Verizon. Verizon had the 16 and 32, but didn't have the 64. So I had to order. Oh, horrors! I had to order a 32 gig. That's one thing. I think people are overbuying data or the storage size. It's unless you're storing long movie. You want 5 movies on there and 8 TV. Entire season of Breaking Bad. I don't think you need that much. I think 16 or 32 is enough, but you should see what your usage is currently. Especially now that, most of the stuff that we do is stored in the cloud. We stream movies, we stream TV shows, we stream music. You don't have to store your library on there anymore. You just, if you turn on iTunes Match, all your songs are available. They're just not on there. No NFC. I'm disappointed, but that's all right. That's that thing that allows you with some phones like I'm going to compare it to the Galaxy S3 because that's the top-of-the-line Android phone. Like some phones like the Galaxy S3, you tap it against an NFC chip and you can buy things and stuff like that. Then Apple decided they didn't want to do that. their passbook program is still just a customer loyalty card device. It could be, you could put credit cards in there and make it a payment thing, but they haven't done that yet. I don't know why. They just haven't. I think had they done it, it would have jump-started that, and maybe we'd see that everywhere, but they didn't. So better screen. Camera, same. Don't get fooled by all the razzmatazz about the camera. If you look at the specs, it's the same camera. It's the same chip. It's the same features. It's, maybe the software, they have improved the software a little bit. It does panoramas now. And apparently has a new low light mode, which we'll have to test out. The front-facing camera is much better, but that's only because it was so bad in the iPhone 4S. It was a VGA camera in the iPhone 4S, and it's now a full 720p camera, which means you can finally, have high-def FaceTime, which I don't think anybody uses. Still cannot take out the battery. I think that's a negative. We'll see what the battery life is. One thing that there are two things that I'll talk about when we come back, because I'm running out of time, that Apple did do in the new iPhone that might be important, that may make a difference, and they didn't talk about it hardly at all. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You know why? It's good to have
the hottest topic in business.
And I hope that now that they have that front-facing camera so good on the iPhone 5 that the folks at Citrix will now start doing go-to-meeting meetings on the iPhone 5. You already can, but the camera is not active. It is on the iPad, though, which is so cool. So let me tell you a little bit about GoToMeeting. They sponsor our podcast today. GoToMeeting lets you work with clients and colleagues all over the world, collaborate, train, pitch. It's great for selling. You got that PowerPoint presentation with all the reasons why they should, buy your widget. It's very easy for your clients to use. They click on a link. You send them in the email. The software's installed on their computer. And now they're seeing your screen. And if they have a camera on there, and you have a camera on yours, they're seeing you and you're seeing them. And let's not underestimate the importance of that. Seeing the body language, the frown, the smile is really important. Not just for sales, but for collaborating, for training, for working. It's how you make connections. Somebody sent me, and I'll pull it up for you, a psych study. They just New York Times blog post published the story last week that showed that trust, there were 4 factors that created a bond of trust or conversely distrust between two people, and they required visual. And that's why this video is so great. Go to Meeting with HD Faces. I want you to try it right now. It's free for 30 days. Visit gotomeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the offer code TECH, just one word, TECH, and you got 30 days free. And you could try the camera. You could try, it's great sharing. You could download the free iPhone or iPad app, and you can attend meetings on those. Start a meeting with a Mac or a PC. Let me find this New York Times article because it was really interesting. Somebody sent me a link, and of course I'd have to go through my email. Psychology and Trust. I'll search for Trust, New York Times. Psychology of Trust. Shoot. Here it is. Who is trustworthy? A robot can help teach us. So this was a study done at Cornell. And it's kind of complicated, so I won't go into the details of the study. They played a game. They met people, and then they did it over instant messenger and then in person. They tried it with a robot and with real humans. It turns out the robot doing the same cues, these 4 cues of distrust, made people distrust them in the same way a human would. So the 4 cues of distrust: clasping its hands, crossing its arms, touching its face, or leaning away. So when the robots did those, the students didn't trust them as much. When humans did it in person, it did, but when they did it over an instant, when they met over instant messenger, they didn't get any of those cues. So these visual cues, students who met in person were far better predicting the trustworthiness of a partner that suggested they were relying on visual cues. So that's the whole point of HD faces. Those visual cues mean everything. So distrust. Let me see if I can find the things of trust. I think leaning forward. What were they? Let's see if they talk about it. Anyway, you can read the article for yourself. It was in the September 10th, The Well column on the New York Times. Who's trustworthy? A robot can help teach us. It was fascinating. And made me understand why HD faces is important. Here we go. This song. I'm sorry. I don't want to even interrupt it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking about the new iPhone, and then we're going to get to the phones. The phone number is 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. 8888 Ask Leo. And I've just been talking about the new iPhone 5. Already the best-selling iPhone. I mean, they sold Apple, despite the fact that they know now how many to make. They've been cranking out iPhones for months, iPhone 5s, still sold out within an hour. Their first shipments within an hour, and now I think it's a 2-week wait, and it will get longer. And don't think that Apple does that on purpose to gin up interest. It doesn't. They don't need to, first of all. Secondly, they want to sell every iPhone they can as soon as they can. So they made as many as they thought they would need as quickly as they can, and they ramp up these facts. One of the reasons we were not surprised in any way by what the iPhone 5 contained is because of all the leaks from China. And the reason all those leaks have happened over the last few months is they started manufacturing the new iPhone 5 in April. They've been making, at least in April, they've been making it for 4 or 5 months already, cranking them out, thousands, hundreds of thousands a day. And they still didn't have enough in hour 1. So understand that anything I say about the new iPhone is sour grapes. It's a success. It doesn't diminish the fact that it is a success. Apple could have done almost anything. It would have been a success. I do think that they didn't do anything particularly interesting, except for 2 things, which they really didn't much talk about. And in fact, if it weren't for a very geeky site, AnandTech, and their sharp-eyed reporter in the demo day, I don't think we would even know that yet, because Apple doesn't like to get too geeky. They don't like to talk too much about what's inside. They did show some videos and stuff. So a couple of things. Well, now wait a minute. Now they've backed down a little bit. So one of the question marks was, what is this processor inside? Apple makes a custom version of its own custom version of its ARM chip. They call it the A6. And initially, Anand thought it might be the first phone based on the ARM Cortex A15, which is an incredibly fast processor. Anand says, it turns out I was wrong. It is not the A15, but pleasantly surprised. The A6 is the first Apple system on a chip to use its own design based on the ARM V7. So it isn't, as it has been in the past, kind of a vanilla design based on... see, ARM is a company that Apple started, by the way, way back when. They sold it off some years later. But the idea of the ARM is that they would design chips and others would make them. They were just a chip design company. And everything portable has an ARM chip in it. Intel's been going crazy because they can't get into this market. But Samsung makes ARM chips. All the Android tablets, all the phones smartphones you use, they're all based on ARM designs, manufactured by companies like Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, Samsung. In this case, though, Apple did something a little bit different. They are using a design that's modern, but they're tweaking it to be really, in some ways, the most custom chip that Apple has ever done. I refer you to Anand's Tech because this article this revised article just came out today. In fact, 15 minutes ago. No, I'm sorry, 10 minutes ago, where Anand says, I was wrong. But what we'll see based on this chip is a number of things. First of all, it's the fastest phone, probably the fastest phone on the market. Almost certainly the fastest phone on the market. Absolutely the fastest iPhone. But also, both in graphics and in raw processor power. But also, it should be very good battery life. And isn't that important? Apple did crow about its improved battery life. And LTE, when you use this new LTE high speed, that really kills battery life. So this, again, we won't know until Friday when we get these in our hot little hands. Even the people who were able to hold them at the announcement this week weren't able to really test them. So we won't know till Friday. But it looks to be good. It's certainly fast, like really, 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 really fast. It's the thinnest phone on the market. It's very light, it's less than 4 ounces, a quarter of a pound. It's very, very light. In fact, some of my friends who held one said it feels hollow. It feels too light. It doesn't feel like there's something in there. And finally, the screen, which they didn't, again, talk about in great detail, but if you look at the technical specs for the screen, not only is it a Retina display, and by the way, Apple no longer has a monopoly on that. Most of the new phones today have similar dots per inch, similar high-res displays, including the Galaxy S3. In fact, the Galaxy S3 has more, because it's a bigger screen, more stuff going on. It's 1280 by 800 compared to 1136 by 640. So it's not only high density pixels, but there's more of them. But where Apple may have a winner here is something very geeky called color space. The number of colors that a computer screen can render depends on its color space. And most computer screens don't have a full gamut of colors. They have a full range of colors. They can't. Only very expensive desktop screens used by designers, and I mean really expensive, can display the widest range of color that designers want. We all think because years ago they said, oh, we can do 4 million colors now. That's more than the human eye can see. Well, they could do 4 million colors, but they don't display it. They can't display them all. They pick with a range within there. This is they say will be an sRGB screen. This will be the most accurate color. If you're a photographer, you may well want the iPhone 5 just because it will display your pictures as you expect and as you might see on a desktop, high-quality desktop screen. So for that reason, and these were not things Apple touted, super fast processor should have very good battery life and a much better screen. It might be worth getting. But Apple doesn't like to talk too geeky, and so those were things that got left out. I'll save my conversation about the iPod. Very disappointed by the iPods. I don't know what Apple's doing. The iPods were a throwaway design. Really not so good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get to the phones, because I know a lot of people want to talk about this and anything else on your mind. Any other computer topic, technology topic, starting with Jack in Diamond Bar, California. Jack, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey.
Hey.
So it's a weird problem here. I've got this computer. It's like fairly modern, AMD 4800 dual core with 4 gigs of RAM. And I'm trying to record music onto tapes, but for some reason it keeps on skipping.
You're trying to record music onto tape?
Yeah, my car only has a tape player, so.
And so when you play it back and the computer's playing it back, forget the tape. Does it skip when the computer's playing it back and you're just listening?
Yeah, it does.
So it has nothing to do with the tape. Music skips on your computer.
Yep. I've changed the OS, I've changed the hard drives, I've changed the memory in it.
It's Windows, though, yeah?
It's both.
Okay, hang on, Jack. We'll talk some more. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, this is an old problem. Used to hear this a lot. I think it's a Windows Media problem. Let me get Scott on the line. Get a cassette adapter. I agree. But he still has that same issue of music skips on his computer. I got a $200 iPhone plus a $50 credit from Verizon because I had an upgrade. It was due for an upgrade over a year ago. Ha-ha! Hey, there's Scott Wilkinson. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, Leo.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So I missed a little bit of that. What was that? You just got some sort of credit or something?
Oh, I was just saying Verizon gave me a good deal because I hadn't upgraded in ages.
Oh, right. Understood. Yeah. I still have another year or a little less on my iPhone 4S contract, so I'm not going to get a 5 right away.
Yeah, I don't see any compelling reason to. If they'd made the camera a lot better, maybe.
Maybe. Actually, my wife still has a BlackBerry that's starting to die, so she's kind of going, well, maybe I should get an iPhone. And she's out of her contract, so that would be pretty easy. But she's also looking, she wants a phone, actually, that has a slide-out physical keyboard.
Yeah.
Have any recommendations?
Yeah, there's a good one. Nicole Lee just reviewed, what was that she just reviewed on Before You Buy? Let me just look it up. Because it was the best keyboard I've seen. I mean, you know, they're no longer making these, right?
Yeah, I know.
This is kind of a dying category.
Yeah, but my wife really prefers the physical keyboard.
The Motorola Photon Q.
Photon Chew?
Q.
Oh, Q.
Yeah. I'll show you a picture of it.
Okay.
It's the best keyboard I've ever seen on a phone.
Oh.
I mean, it looks like a typewriter.
Motorola Photon Q.
Big keycaps. It's a nice phone.
Uh-huh.
It's a kind of, it's a state-of-the-art Android phone. And it has a really kind of very usable keyboard.
I wonder if it's on Verizon.
It is. It's August 19th, so it's out now.
Photon Q. Tix, thank you very much.
Wait a minute. No. Oh. Is it Sprint only? No. It should be on Verizon. This says Sprint. What a bummer.
Well,
yeah,
we'll take a look.
Sprint. I would check. Yeah, it's Sprint only right now. You know, Verizon does these droids with Motorola.
Mm-hmm. I think she looked at one of those online. I think at least one of them has a hardware keyboard.
This is the best. Yeah, there is a droid that has a hardware keyboard,
but it's not as good as that one.
This keyboard blows my mind. But let's see what Verizon's got. We just reviewed the Q. That's why it was in the top of mind.
Indeed.
And I do think they announced new razors. I think one of the new razors might have a. Andy Naka's been using the Droid Razor M, and he said he put it in his pocket, and then he had a horrible feeling that he'd accidentally swapped it for the iPhone 5. He freaked out. He realized he hadn't, so that was good. Wow, I don't know. Smartphones. I want a keyboard.
Smartphones, one special phone.
Yeah. Wow, they don't really give you a lot of choices anymore.
You gonna finish that call?
Yeah. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We were talking to Jack at Diamond Bar. His audio is skipping on his Windows 7 computer. Have you tried it with any other operating system besides Windows?
Yeah, I tried it on FreeBSD, and it does the exact
same thing. Isn't that interesting? So now we know. That's good. You're a smart man. So now we know it's not Windows or the Windows driver.
Mm-hmm.
And is it playing back any kind of audio, like a WAV or an MP3 or anything?
Yeah, it's playing back MP3s, and it would play smoothly. Well, actually, sometimes it starts out bumpy, and then it just goes smooth. And then sometimes it'll start out smooth and then get bumpy.
And when you watch, like, YouTube video or anything like that, is the audio bad on that, too?
It seems fine, but
That's weird. So
play videos for a long time on there, so I don't really know.
It could still be bad.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Boy, that is real. I would say Windows Media Player, but because you tried it with BSD and you're using the BSD software, it's probably not drivers and it's probably not software. I would say it's a sound card issue. Now, are you using a standalone sound card or is it a motherboard sound card?
It's on the motherboard.
Yeah. All I can what you could do. Here's the good news: it's a desktop. Yeah.
Yep.
So you have a slot.
Yep.
You can buy a very cheap sound card that would probably be better anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible for those onboard sound cards to do something like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just a chip. I would, you could try getting better motherboard drivers. You were so smart because you used BSD, so that kind of eliminated the Windows and the drivers. I would, another thing you could do is get a USB sound card, and they range in price from $15 to $1,500, depending on the quality of the digital audio or digital to analog converter, the DAC. That you use. Audiophiles often do this. They want to get the audio conversion, the digital to analog conversion, outside the computer where it's less noisy. You could get a standard sound card, cheap. You wouldn't have to open the box if you got a USB adapter, and that would probably fix it too. USB, and there's a lot of these. Just look for USB audio adapter, and then just decide, how much you want to spend on it. Audiophiles often spend a lot on those. Scott Wilkinson is here. Speaking of audiophiles, I think a lot of us think of Scott. He's our home theater guy. Does our Home Theater Geeks podcast and all that. Joins us every week to talk about home theater. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's a TV guy," but you started as a home audio guy, right?
That's correct. Actually, I started as a pro audio guy way back when. I was working in recording studios and live concerts and so on as a musician. That got me into pro audio, and then I started covering pro audio as a journalist, and then that migrated into home audio and video. So now I'm pretty well versed in both.
Do you ever review DACs?
I don't. I haven't. I might start getting into it now.
It's an interesting business. I'm looking. Just did a quick search for USB audio DAC, and Google came up with things ranging from $70 to $400.
They can go into the many thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to get these. If you're an audiophile, you're going to get one that's a box, right?
Right.
That plugs into the USB port. Here's a Cambridge Audio DAC Magic Plus digital to analog converter, $600.
Yep.
And what you're paying more for is the chip. Is that it?
Well, you're paying for the chip, but you're also paying for the analog electronics. Remember, DAC is digital to analog converter.
Right.
So there is some analog electronics in there. And I've always believed that digital electronics start out expensive and get really cheap because if they're popular, you can print out 1 million chips for next to nothing. But analog electronics are always going to be expensive, especially high-quality analog electronics.
Yeah.
They always have been. They always will be.
So that's the amplifier or the preamp, and probably in this case,
exactly.
Once you convert the bits to a waveform, then you've got to amplify it.
Correct, and you want to maintain fidelity and everything. Once it's in the digital domain, it basically stays the same. I mean, it can be affected, but not as easily as in the analog domain. In the analog domain, you can affect the waveform in all sorts of ways, both subtle and gross. And so that's why analog electronics need to be expensive in order to be high quality.
Yeah, I'm just
why
I like the Emotivas because I have their speakers. They make a DAC. It's kind of expensive. So
for Emotiva, how much is it?
Let me see if I
thought you had it up on the screen.
I was looking at it. $349. That's not too bad. I mean, Emotiva makes great stuff.
Right, great bargain stuff too. Really high quality stuff at reasonable prices.
Now, given that he's doing this for his cassette adapter, I don't know if he needs to spend a whole lot of money.
He does. If he's trying to record cassettes, I mean, sure, you want to keep the signal quality as good as possible throughout the signal chain, and let the cassette recorder get as much as it can. But you're right. It's cassette has got pretty low specs.
Right.
And so you don't need to send it
$400 on a DAC for a cassette.
No.
All right. Well, see, I'm glad you were here because that is an audio question, a home theater question.
Yeah.
By the way,
absolutely.
what do you if you were in his shoes, he doesn't have a way of. This is, by the way, another thing that's driving me crazy about the iPhone 5. There are a lot of cars like the BMWs that have the Apple 30-pin connectors in the glove compartment. They're not. You're going to have to buy a $30 adapter from Apple.
What? $30?
And here's the really bad news. We don't know yet because it's not available till October. But it looks like, we're not sure, but it looks like that adapter still won't work in a BMW. That you no longer, if you buy a new iPhone, or a new iPod, and eventually, by the way, the iPads and everything else are going to move to this new 9-pin Lightning connector that Apple's pushing.
Right.
It will not work with the 30-pin connector in many cars.
Why is that? I mean, I would think a connector's a connector, right? It's got pin outs.
Because of the output. Because of the kind of output. It doesn't exactly duplicate everything on the 30-pin. So I like, if you have a cassette player, and I think these work quite well, just an analog audio jack into your device, into a cassette adapter that goes into your cassette player, and I think they give very good sound quality. I don't think that there's much. Yeah,
a lot of cars have that. They have an analog, like a mini 1/8-inch jack,
right?
That you can plug into your car's sound system. And use that, and that's perfectly fine. I would use that over the cassette player itself if I could.
Right.
Because the cassettes, they're tapes. They're gonna jam.
This is going to sound better than a tape, I think. Yeah,
that's
what I did for a long time. I do not like. It depends where you live. I do not like the FM transmitters. Now that's an easier way to do it.
Yes, but they're not very good. I've tried those myself.
Yeah, well, you live in L.A. where it's crowded, the radio frequency. If you lived in Utah, it might work all right. But if you live anywhere where the radio band has lots of stations, it's not going to work. There's a new thing that I like, and this would work fine with your iPhone 5. You're seeing more and more, if your car doesn't have Bluetooth audio, that's different from phone Bluetooth.
Yes.
In fact, I have an older Highlander, Toyota Highlander, that works fine with the phone. I can answer calls on it, but it doesn't do A2DP, which is the stereo audio. But you can buy adapters for those as well. A lot of companies make those where it just takes, and then that's easy because you get in the car. The Bluetooth pairing is already done. You get in the car, and the music starts playing, and I love that. Yeah.
Well, now, does your Highlander, with its Bluetooth, does it have a cassette player? I would think that cars with cassette cars with cassette players are of a certain age that are unlikely to have Bluetooth at all.
The Highlander was in this kind of middle period where it had Bluetooth, it had phone Bluetooth, so I can answer, hands-free with the phone.
Yeah.
It's got a GPS and all. I think it was 2009, I think it was. But it doesn't. But it doesn't have the stereo Bluetooth. Now my 2010 Mustang. Oh yeah, and I get in and my music starts playing. I love it. And when I get out, it stops playing. Hey, hang around. We'll talk a little more. Scott Wilkinson is here, our home theater guru. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls to come too. 8888 Ask Leo. The Droid 4. They're saying. Thank you. They're saying the Droid 4, which is also on Verizon, has a, it's not quite as good as the Photon, but at least it's backlit, which is nice.
Right. Okay. Droid 4.
And that is a Verizon.
Okay.
And it's relatively recent. It has ice cream sandwich on it.
Photon. It was the Photon Q. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's the Sprint, and that's fantastic. But the Droid 4 would probably be a good choice for her, given that you're on Verizon.
Right. Okay. I will definitely have her take a look at that. Yeah. Probably this afternoon we're going to go over to the Verizon store and just try some phones out.
Yeah. My Kindle Fire did not come. It was supposed to come today. I'll have to check. Let me check my
man.
Maybe it was supposed to come yesterday. Maybe it'll come today. And then I am getting an iPhone 5 on Friday, so I'll have it for next week's show.
Yeah, you unfortunately or fortunately need to get all these new things. Yeah,
what I'm really dreading is that AT&T is getting the Galaxy Note 2 and the Lumia 920 in the same day,
and you're going to have to get them.
I'm going to have to get both. I'm not looking forward to that.
Murray on Travel really loves his Droid with keyboard.
Looks like looks like a lot of people like that Droid 4. So.
Web 2886 is asking my opinion on the Sharp 90-inch 3D LCD TV. And from what I've seen of it, I haven't reviewed it, but I did take a look at it. It looks pretty good. The black levels aren't very good, so that's a bit of a problem. But it is with most LCD TVs. But the overall, the picture quality looks pretty good. And Sharps, I think, are semi-reasonably priced these days, except for the Sharp Elite, the real fancy one, and that isn't at 90 inches, that's at 70 inches. My friend Joel Silver at the Imaging Science Foundation has made a point that I think is very right, that when people go into a store and they see the Sharp 90-inch, which has okay picture quality, not super great, and compared to the Sharp Elite 70-inch, which has super good picture quality, they're going to go for the 90-inch simply because it's bigger.
This is annoying. This is really annoying.
What's that?
Delivery estimate Friday, September 14th, but not yet shipped. That sucks, Amazon. I guess maybe they got more orders than they thought. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'm moving into a larger place. So I think if I get accepted, I'm getting a house. So I now need to buy more TVs.
Of course. Well, I will definitely be glad to help you in any way I can.
You. Well, you recommended some plasma TVs for Lisa that they look so much better than mine. They're more recent.
Well, yours is a Pioneer before the age of Kuro. Right?
Yeah, no.
I thought you bought
I have a Kuro, but that's not. Jennifer kept the Kuro, so I have the Elite.
Right,
so it's not. It's nice. I'm not complaining, but I'm
sure
it's 55 inches. It's time for me to get. So what should I go with LED backlit or should I get a no?
In my opinion, you should go with the Panasonic plasma if you can afford it. The VT50.
That's what she has.
No, she has the VT25. I believe.
Okay, but I thought I was looking at it. I thought she had LCD. It was so bright.
No,
it's gorgeous. All right,
it's beautiful.
VT50. All right.
VT50. The VT25 is 2 generations ago.
Right.
So that was 2 years ago.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. Scott Wilkinson is here. He is our home theater expert. We're going to keep him around a little bit longer because I ended up using him for my own evil purposes. But I'll let you pick a topic of your own.
Oh, very good. Well, I do have some listener questions. I continue to get them, and I welcome them at scott@techguylabs.com. You can email me there. And next week, I'm going to make an announcement. I'm back on the web answering questions online, and I will let you know where that is next week.
Oh, congratulations, I think.
Little bit of a teaser. Yes,
That's
indeed.
Great.
I'm very happy about it.
Good for you. That's great.
In the meantime... I did get a question from Michael Leisure, who said he wants to buy a 32-inch monitor for computer use, and he's asking, is it imperative to get one that's 120 hertz? Now, we've talked about 60 hertz versus 120 versus 240 in LCD TVs and monitors, which means that the frames are refreshed more quickly. Instead of 60 times per second, it's 120 times per second or 240 times per second. And the TV or monitor has the ability to do something called frame interpolation, which means it takes a look at 2 consecutive frames of video coming in and says, where would the moving objects be if I were to insert a frame in between them? And so it basically creates new frames with moving objects kind of halfway between where they are between the real frames. This results in sharper motion, better detail in moving objects, but it also creates an effect called the soap opera effect. It makes movies in particular look like they were shot on video, and most people really object to this.
I don't like it. I turn it off right away when I see it.
Exactly.
It's plasticky.
It's very plasticky. Exactly right. Now, he wants to use this monitor for computer use, web and spreadsheet. And so the answer to the question is absolutely don't get 120 hertz, which will be more expensive. there's absolutely no reason for it. A, you might not like it on video anyway, but B, if you're doing web stuff and spreadsheets and so on, you have very little motion to begin with. So even if you liked the effect, it wouldn't do anything for you.
Right. So
save a little bit of money and get a 60 hertz monitor or TV. He's looking, I think, for a 32-inch. For example, the Samsung EH6000 and 5000 TVs are their low-end budget TVs, and I like them very much. The only difference between them is that the EH6000 is 120 hertz with frame interpolation, and the EH5000 does not have frame interpolation. It's at 60 hertz. So if you were going to get that model, for example, I would recommend the EH5000, which will save you a little money. It won't give you the frame interpolation, but you don't need it if you're going to use it as a computer monitor.
Scott Wilkinson hosts the Home Theater Geek podcast every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can watch live on our podcast network. I hate to call it a podcast, but I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, you tried calling it a netcast.
Well,
and
it is, but nobody knows what that means. It's an internet television show. How about that?
Yeah,
Watch
that's what I call it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I call it.
TWiT.tv. You can listen too, though, and we make on-demand versions of audio and video available after the fact. In fact, he's done many episodes, so you can go back in time and listen to them all. They're all free, all available at twit.tv/HTG for Home Theater Geeks. Who's on this week?
Barb Gonzalez, my streaming specialist.
Oh, interesting.
She's going to be talking about the new Google TV on a couple of different platforms that she has tried. Also, the whole issue of aggregating audio-video content and where that's going, where that is today and where it's going in the future. It's a great show.
Fantastic. Scott Wilkinson, thanks for joining us.
You bet. My pleasure.
And we'll listen with interest next week to find out what you're up to, you sneaky guy. Meanwhile, you can email him at scott@techguylabs.com. Mike in Louisville, Kentucky. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Mike.
Well, hello, Leo. I visited you back in June and had a wonderful time there.
Oh, well, welcome back then. Yeah, we have a open studio policy. I've got somebody, Mark's visiting from Scotland, right? Wow, we've got somebody from Scotland.
Oh, wow. My chat line name is Old Salem. So.
Oh, well, nice to see you. Nice to talk to
we
you.
really enjoyed it. Had a wonderful time. I've got two iMacs, a 2009 iMac and a 2010. The 2009 has half a megabyte, 512 megabyte of video memory, and the 2010, the newer one, has 2 gigabyte of video memory, and they both have 8 gig system memory. And I got Pinnacle software for Windows at that because I'm running them in boot camp right now. And then I also have Roxio Toast for the Mac, and they're both a high-end full feature for high def.
Why are you using Windows to do all this? It all comes on the Mac.
And
Go ahead. You don't have to justify yourself. I'm just saying you got iMovie, iDVD, you got all the software you need to do anything you want on the Macintosh already. Nothing wrong with using Windows
programs.
On
yeah, sure I do.
Are you you're using Boot Camp? You said.
Well, I set it up originally on Boot Camp when I redid the machines about a month or two.
Because emulation, using VMware Fusion or Parallels or VirtualBox will not be fast enough for video editing. You'll really want to do it in Boot Camp.
So it's good. It was a good decision to use Boot Camp for that.
Oh yeah. See, Boot Camp, then you're just turning that iMac into a Windows machine, and it's just like any Windows machine. It's using all the hardware 100%.
I remember you saying that once a long time ago because I've been following you for years.
So the way virtualization works, you continue to run the Macintosh, and now you got a window that's Windows, but it's sharing resources. So it's sharing the memory, sharing the video card memory, sharing the CPU with a running Macintosh. So it just can't have as much. So when you're doing video editing, you need all the hardware you can get, especially on that older iMac. So you always want to run in Boot Camp.
Well, which one would you? These two products, I have not loaded them yet. And I used them because I used them in my old Windows environment days, and I wasn't really familiar with the Apple product as far as that. So,
in Apple land, people don't really talk about how much video RAM they have or what video card they have. We just take what Apple gives us, and we consider ourselves lucky.
Yeah, I'm an Apple fanboy.
Well, then Apple never really makes much of a deal about things like what kind of video card. In fact, you have to look deep within the specs to find out how much video memory you have. It's just not something Apple talks about. Since you're running Windows apps, and certainly in the Windows world, we do care about those kinds of things. We talk about it all the time. And I don't know if Pinnacle has a minimum hardware requirement on there.
I've looked for it, and they don't give you a manual anymore.
My suspicion is it'll all run just fine. If the only issue might be on the older Mac, it'll run a little slower. That's all.
Okay, I'll put it on. It
should all run just fine. The reason, extra video memory is not particularly useful for anything but gaming. It's used for holding textures and things like that and doing real-time video rendering. I don't think in video editing, correct me if I'm wrong, chat room, but I don't think in video editing it makes much difference at all. The speed of the CPU, the speed of the graphics processor, that's what matters, not how much video RAM you have. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. And he's back. Scott Wilkinson, you want to take over for another few minutes? You want to do some stuff? All right, we'll give Scott some airtime while I get up and walk around.
Happy to do so. Yeah, I was just sitting here answering questions in the chat room, and happy to do that actually live and by voice. So anybody got a question, let me know. I've been talking about headphones actually in the chat room. Tix is right. Tix was asking me about headphones in the I think $200 to $600 range. I really like the PSB M4U2s, which are noise cancelers and active headphones. That is, they have amps in them. And Paul Barton of PSB just introduced the M4U1, I believe is the model, which is the same headphone just without the amps or noise canceling for $100 less. The M4U2 is $400, not cheap, and the M4U1 is $300, so better. I'm wearing the Heil Pro Set 3 headphones from Bob Heil, which I like very much. I think they sound great. And those are, I think, I'm not 100% sure. So let's see here. Tix also says most headphone choice is down to personal preference, and that's absolutely true. So what you really want to do is go listen to several. And whenever you're going to evaluate an audio system, make sure that you take along some music that you're familiar with, that you know what it's supposed to sound like, so that when you listen to one set of headphones versus another, you can hear, oh, wait, that's supposed to have more bass in it, or I don't like the treble on that one, it's too harsh, whatever. Take music that you are familiar with, that you know well. Let's see. David Bix, I've been talking with David Bix in the chat room about plasmas, and he was looking at a Panasonic versus an LG. I believe he was looking at the Panasonic U55. And I was recommending, if that's the really inexpensive model, if you can step up to the ST50, it would be better. Now, I don't know the U50, to tell you the truth. I haven't reviewed it. I haven't seen it. I would imagine it's okay, but I have seen the ST50, and it's a wonderful panel for a very reasonable price. So that's what I would do there. James, VA3 JPX, the Heil Pro Set 3, it's what I'm wearing as we speak. And I wave back to Sarah Jane, UK, across the pond. Thank you very much for that. What do I think of the specs? Kevin Dublin is asking, what do I think about the specs on the iPhone 5 screen? Color range or something like that? Leo made a very common mistake when he was talking about that. He referred to it as the color space. And then he also used as a synonym the word color gamut. And this is a very common mistake. I don't blame him one bit, but they are two different things. The gamut is the range of colors that can be reproduced, such as sRGB or Rec 709, which is the high def standard. Those are all alphabet soup, but what they really mean, what they refer to, is the range of colors that can be reproduced. Color space is the way in which colors are described mathematically. And there are many different ways to describe colors mathematically. And so that is the difference between color space and color gamut. Although even manufacturers use these terms interchangeably, and it always kind of chaps my hide. I wish they would be aware of that. Let's see. Web 6203. Anyone here checked out the ear pods? I don't know. I guess those are the new iPhone 5 and iPod pods, earbuds called ear pods. I haven't. I don't know. Let's see. R. Chandra asks, battery? I assume you mean in an active headphone. You don't normally have to change those very often. I wear Bose Quiet Comfort 15s as noise cancelers on airplanes. Now, the PSBs have better audio quality, no question about it. But the Bose are better noise cancelers. And so I'm more concerned with noise canceling on an airplane than I am with audio quality. So I go with the Bose. And the AAA battery lasts, 40 hours or something, plenty of time.
We liked the, what did we use? Was it Audio Technica? It makes a very great noise-canceling headphone. I thought better than the Bose.
Really? Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I don't like the Bose that much.
Oh, well, I like them for the noise canceling. The sound quality is not great.
There's active noise. Yeah, that's right. But the active noise canceling, I think it's in the Audio Technicas. I have a pair at home, and I don't remember. And they're very good. Active noise canceling. And they're just as good. And they're better sounding. Because AT makes better stuff, I think.
Right.
And they were talking about the ear pods in the chat room. I did listen to Sarah's, and I thought they sounded quite good. The imaging was very good.
Really?
Yeah, they were very clean. So a lot of detail.
That's great. I heard a news guy say earbuds typically just fall out of his ears, but these won't. I guess they're a little bigger or something.
They're designed not to. They're not exactly in-ear monitors. They don't. They don't jam in. In fact, they feel like they're loose, but the design is such that they're kind of resting, I guess, inside your ear canal a little bit. And so, yeah, they seem. They're not as sure as an in-ear monitor, which is. Or anything with a loop, but they're much better than the earbuds. And the quality's very good. The imaging was excellent. The bass was decent. They're not, because they're not in-ear monitors, the bass isn't going to be as good as an in-ear monitor, but I thought they were very good. And I'm still not sure, they have these ports on the side. I don't think it's electronic. I know it's not active noise canceling. It's some sort of passive noise canceling, but it works. And so I think that's what this port is on the side here. Is just a noise canceling port. They're on both of them.
Well, I wonder how it could do that. Passive noise canceling is just blocking noise coming into your ears.
No. There's a non-amplified noise cancellation where this would be kind of an input device that would then be running in the opposite, waveform.
Opposite phase. But that needs phase. But that needs some electronics to generate, doesn't it? I guess if you had a passive phase shifter, I
don't know.
That's weird. It
definitely does something, but not active. It's definitely not active. There's no battery.
All right.
Well, maybe it's getting some charge from the phone, but I doubt it. It's not anywhere near the noise canceling on a Bose or anything. You don't feel like but
right.
It does something, and.
I'll have to look into that. That's very interesting.
The quality's good. See, there's ports at the top here, and there's ports on the side. I don't really know what these are. But I was for $30, I think they're as good as anything out there for $30.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I was just going to ask. Old Geek in the chat room is asking, have I tried the 7.1 headsets with multi-drivers? I tried one of those at the CEDIA trade show, and it was interesting. I thought it sounded pretty good. But it also kind of rattled a little bit. It didn't feel natural to me. They claim to have subwoofers in these gigantic cans, and they kind of rattled. I thought that was weird, like something was loose inside them. Here we go. Have fun.
Thank you, Scott. Well, hello! Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And it's time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, home theater, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number if you have a question, comment, a suggestion. If you'd like to talk high tech, I'd like to talk it with you. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's get back to the phones. And Michael in Hermosa Beach, California. Hi, Michael. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Leo, thanks for taking my call. I've got a question for you. I am a co-owner of a small business. I'm the number 2 man and 9 employees, and unfortunately the chief technology officer, too.
Yeah, that often happens.
We've been operating for about 5 years, 6 years, just on webmail out of GoDaddy, and it's becoming stressful with calendars and such. So I think we need to migrate to kind of a hosted exchange plan. And I don't like GoDaddy's hosted exchange plan because they cap out the size of the mailbox at 4 gigs. And so I was looking at another company, and I'm in a 30-day trial right now with them called Intermedia. And I wondered if you had any comments on that company or any other kind of solutions.
You're pretty tied to Exchange? You really sure you want that?
Well, I mean, that's, I guess, why I'm calling. I think I do because I'm familiar with it. But
so Exchange, for those who wonder what we're talking about, is Microsoft's mail server. And if you use Outlook or you use Windows Phone, Exchange, actually it's true now on all smartphones, including the iPhone and Android phones, Exchange is supported. The truth is we use, in my company, 25 people, we use Google. We use Google Apps for our email. So mostly because we have a lot of young, technology-savvy employees who use Gmail anyway. And
right.
So they're just very happy to keep using Gmail. Gmail supports IMAP. It can be used. It is an Exchange server. In effect, you can use it as an Exchange server. It's pretty inexpensive. I'm not sure what you're paying for Intermedia. How much per seat?
They're asking for about $10 a month per user.
Okay.
On this Intermedia.
Okay, I think Google's cheaper than that. I think it's $40 per person per year. But it's really not so much the money as the capabilities, the uptime, and all of that stuff. I'm really a big fan of Gmail and Google Apps, and Google Apps for Business. Okay. Have you used it at all?
We use Google Docs.
Well, so you're already kind of in that sphere. Yeah. The other option, which I would prefer over Exchange, in fact, I suspect in the long run Microsoft would like you to move to Office 365 for Business. They still, it feels like they're kind of moving away from Exchange. So Office 365 is $4 per month with 25 gigs for your inbox, and you get Office as well. I actually like that better than using a hosted Exchange.
Do you get Exchange with Office 365?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would guess it would support Exchange clients like Outlook. Let me check. Yes, somebody in the chat room saying it is hosted Exchange. So in effect, you're buying hosted Exchange from Microsoft. So again, let me explain this. Exchange is a mail server. A big company will run its own server, which is a nightmare. Anybody I've ever talked to who runs Exchange servers, as an IT person, says, they're in such pain. So if you can, having a hosted Exchange is going to cost you more, but then they support it. They're experts in Exchange. So there are companies like Intermedia that do hosted Exchange. Hey, who better than Microsoft?
Right. What I liked about Intermedia is that there was no limit on the size of the mailbox. We've got, myself and some of the other long-term employees of 20 gigs now. And believe it or not, I do reference emails from 3-4 years ago frequently.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That was Google's pitch with Gmail originally was, you don't have to ever throw out mail. It becomes, I don't know if this is the best use of it, but I think for most of us now, it's our database. It's where all my information is stored. I don't have to worry about it. I got it in an email somewhere. I just have to be able to search it. So I understand that. 25 gigs is a lot. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
I would go to the Office 365 site and at least take a look at that. I think Microsoft is really pushing this. They have a number of different plans. Let me see if unlimited mail storage. It's going to cost you $20 per user per month. But that's for mid-sized business and enterprise. They have 25 gigs for $4 a month. That's a hosted email. Small business plan, $6 a month. Cloud-based email, shared calendars, instant messaging, web-based viewing and editing of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. Team site for sharing files. Look, I guess if the big issue for you is storage, then you're going to be searching for someone that can give you the most storage.
And that's kind of what I liked about that intermedia. Was
that sounds like a good deal. I don't know intermedia, so I can't say yay or nay. Okay. On that one. Maybe somebody in the chat room or somebody will call in with suggestions or recommendations. It's certainly better than running your own Exchange server. I can say that much. Nightmare. I think Office 365 is really what Microsoft wants people to do. This is where they want you to go. And then if you use desktop Microsoft Office, Mac or Windows, it just kind of interoperates with that. I'm pretty impressed with Office 365. This is Microsoft's kind of online version of Office. And it includes email. Let's see. Rob in Tarzana, California. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Rob.
Hello, Leo.
Hello.
Hey, it's interesting that I'm right behind this last caller who asked about the Exchange, because I'm using Microsoft Exchange or Outlook Exchange with Intermedia.
Oh, no kidding.
I looked at 365. I put in calls to them. Never could get a phone call back from my business.
No, that's terrible. I've heard good things about their support. That is not good.
Yeah, that was good. So I went with Intermedia. Just figured I'll try it. And they're fantastic. Had very, very good service with them. Every time I've had a question, they're very quick to respond, and it's smooth. And I open up Outlook and everywhere, I have a laptop, I have a desktop, and wherever I am, I feel like I have the same interface.
Well, there you go.
Email. Great.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Rob. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yes. So now the reason I called, actually, I had called asking about an Audacity problem, which I've seemed to have gotten resolved in the meantime.
That's why we keep you on hold so long.
I know. I actually worked on it.
In general, people often solve their problems before I get them on the air.
Yeah. But do you recommend is there any reason to have any paid programs other than, or does Audacity do pretty much the job?
Well, it depends on how much you need to do. I like Audacity a lot. Audacity is a free open source program, Mac, Windows, and Linux. You can get it from Audacity, AUDACITY.sourceforge.net. And it comes with a lot of hardware for audio capture because it's free. What used to be kind of crashy. I don't know if they've fixed that. I hear you're having a problem, so maybe it is still a little bit crashy. And there certainly are, for hundreds of dollars more expensive programs. For a long time when I was just doing audio podcasts and I was doing all the audio editing, I really loved for years, and most radio guys did, something called Cool Edit. That was a shareware program for Windows. Adobe bought them. And it turned Cool Edit into Adobe Audition. And they still sell Audition. They've actually, it was Windows only. It's Mac now. It is the champagne of audio editing programs, if that's what you want to do. But it's hundreds of dollars. It's hundreds of dollars. So, unless you got a problem with Audacity, I'd stick with it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So, here's what... Office 365 said I should go with Plan E1. For 25 employees, it would cost me $200 a month. You do too, probably. Everyone, pretty much. Plan E1. Gain Active Directory integration, 24/7 phone support, access docs from any device. Or they don't do it often enough. And that's taking just a big risk. I don't even know what this... this is ridiculous. They don't even tell me what it is. Get card, your files will be backed up automatically and contain The content in this tool is based on a Forrester Research white paper on the total economic impact of implementing Office 365 for mid-sized customers. It takes care of it for you. Plus, you can access your backed up files on any computer on your smartphone or iPad with a free total economic impact. Unlimited backup space. All right, whatever. Theater Monkey, Friday's my day off. They told me they were going to do the Google Street View on Thursday when I was here, and then they didn't do it, and they did it Friday, so I'm not in it. In fact, I'm kind of annoyed because I guess some of my employees managed to get in every shot. So I'm not in any of them, but apparently... Anyway. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I paid a lot of money for that. Well, $800 or something. I don't know what happened. I wanted Andy to be in a shot. I'm glad Ozzy was in a shot. Yeah, it's a third-party company that does it. Come in. No, I'm just talking out my butt. I'm on a break. So, weren't they going to do the Street View thing on Thursday when I was here? Or was it always going to be on Friday? I thought for some reason it was going to be Thursday, and I was going to be here for that. So call this number just for you, my listeners, 800-443-5190. You lost your daughter? It's a big office. You could, I think. I've lost my salad. I can't decide if I'm a big fish in a little pond or a little fish in a big pond. I can't decide. I have no idea what size the pond is. I guess that's the problem. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking about Apple, its product announcements. And, they did a weird thing. And credit where credit's due. The folks at 9to5Mac said they would do this, and I just poo-pooed it. I thought, no, there's no way Apple is going to do the iPhone announcement and then do an iPod announcement. It's just not going to happen. And 9to5Mac said, no, it's our we've been informed by our sources. Apparently they've got better sources than I do, that Apple will, in fact, be announcing new iPods. I thought, that doesn't make any sense. Why announce your iPhone, your big product of the year? And Apple's biggest product, I should make this clear, Apple's biggest product is its iPhone by far. They make more money on it. They sell more of it. It is the most important product by far that Apple makes. Why would you dilute that announcement and mention iPods? Especially since consensus is that there'll be another announcement next month of a new, smaller iPad. That'd be the time to announce new iPods. So I apologize to 9to5Mac. They were right. I was wrong. Apple did. After finishing the whole iPhone announcement, playing the commercial, Tim Cook comes back on stage. This would be the moment when, in normal events, he'd say, thank you, everybody. We've got some products in the demo room gone over. Only Apple can make stuff so wonderful, so magical, so easy to use. Goodbye. And instead he says, oh, and by the way, we've got new iPods. The iPod is so small potatoes for it's funny. I mean, it really transformed Apple in 2001 when they introduced it. It transformed the music business, even more importantly. But it's now secondary to almost everything else Apple makes. The iPod sales have been tapering off every year for the last couple of years because people have iPhones. Those are iPods and phones. So Apple announced new iPods, and I have to say there's some real disappointment out there about what they did with the Nano. The new iPod Touches, they're great, nicely improved. They're basically iPhone 5s kind of with, worse cameras and no phone. But they're good. They've got 5-megapixel cameras now. They're fine. They're just the newer touches. But the Nano, which was remember that there were all these projects to make Nano wristbands. In fact, one of the very first successful Kickstarter projects was the Nano watch band that would take this little square iPod and turn it into a wristwatch. In fact, Apple apparently even encouraged this. They had wristwatch faces on the Nano, little clock faces. And now they're just throwing it away. They took that cute little Nano and they made it something that looks, as somebody said, much like a Samsung MP3 player from 2007. I just don't understand it. I don't know what the market is for this. Almost everybody in the iPod division left several years ago. And I think it's just it's kind of just some guys who are, hanging around. I don't know what they were doing. They were just fooling around. And Tim said, "What do you got?" And he said, "Well, I got this." Okay, we'll take it. The new iPod Nano has a 2.5-inch screen. It does have Bluetooth, which is nice, so that'll work in your car and other places Bluetooth works. $149. There's only one size. It's not tiny. It's not big. It's not a watch anymore, and I feel bad for all the people who design watches or watch bands to go with this. And I just think that this is an opportunity lost. Apple could have said, "Oh, yeah, got it. People want wearable iPods. Got it. What can we do with this?" They could have made a Nano watch. In fact, why didn't they? What an opportunity. Make it smaller, more comfortable, have a band. What were they thinking? The new Nano is too big for a watch unless you're really goofy. And most people are. I just don't think this is going to sell very well because you either buy it, spend $50 more and get an iPod Touch and have apps. Or if you've already got an iPhone, what do you need an iPod for? So it's a shame. I think just a little disappointing. Apple missed an opportunity, missed a bet for something that could have been really spectacular. But, maybe it'll, I'm very bad at predicting the success or failure of Apple products. Nilay Patel, writing in The Verge, called it timid. Apple's timid new iPod Nano sidesteps a smartwatch revolution. And I kind of feel the same way. Opportunity missed. He says the biggest danger sign for Apple is the iPod Nano. It's an indicator that Apple is becoming risk adverse. And you might say that about the new iPhone, too. They're becoming a little risk adverse, a little less likely to take chances. And I see no compelling reason to even release this new Nano. Who is this for? This is what Nilay says in The Verge. He says, according to insiders, Apple reworks the Nano every few years to kick off a cycle of upgrades. A $150 Nano is an impulse buy holiday present that almost makes it seem like you care about the recipient. It's a new iPod Nano, you say to your giftee. It indicates my hope that something shiny will distract you long enough for me to escape without having to feel any genuine emotions in this situation. I love you, Nilay. He said, but that's the old market in the old way. It is, you might say, the Samsung or Sony way. It has not been the Apple way. iPod sales decline steadily every quarter, and cynically changing the Nano into a tiny fake iPhone to juice sales one last time won't stop that slide. The MP3 player market is dead, and Apple doesn't seem to know how to move on. Yeah, I kind of have to agree. And it's a shame because there was an opportunity. That smartwatch. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, that's an opportunity for somebody else. Maybe Samsung will do it. Oh, no, that's right. Samsung can't do it until Apple does it. They don't have anybody to copy. Anthony's in Ontario, Canada. Hi, Anthony. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Anthony?
Hey, not too bad. Thank you very much. I'm a business owner, and I'd like to know what accounting software, not really accounting, sorry, something that can generate invoices for me
All right, hang on, and I'll tell you the answer when we come back. It happens to be an advertiser. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I know. It was a low blow. It was a low blow. A shot at Samsung. I couldn't resist. Samsung doesn't know what to do till Apple does it first. Well, admittedly, nobody carries watches anymore, so it's not much of a market. Hey, let me talk about our phone system. I get questions a lot about what we're using for our business phone system. And I've mentioned it before. They're an advertiser as well as, well, it's funny because we bought this before they were an advertiser. RingCentral.com. So, you're saying, well, wait a minute, Leo, that's just a normal, everyday business phone, multiple line phone. No, it's not. Well, it is. The hardware is, but let me tell you, what it's connected to is very different. No more PBX in the basement. This is a cloud-based phone system. So all I had to do was buy the phone, plug it in, and automatically it's part of our Ring Central system. We've got, in fact, if you call our number, should I give it out? Maybe not. That'd probably be a bad idea. If you happen to have our business number, you probably could find it somewhere. You'd hear a phone tree, press 1 for sales, press 2 for engineering, that kind of thing. All of that's handled by Ring Central. And what's cool about Ring Central is there's no PBX in the basement. It automatically transfers the call either to this phone, or I can set it up to ring my cell phone as well. If you leave me a voicemail, it'll show up in my email as an audio recording. There's zero startup cost. There's no PBX hardware. You pay as little as $20 per month per user. It's really easy for us to expand. We get a new employee, just plug in a phone, and we're done. You can start right now with a 30-day risk-free trial, and they have a special offer just for our listeners. When you buy one of these desk phones, we got Polycoms. I've been very happy with those, but they have a variety. You'll get a second phone free, up to 20 phones. So that's a big startup savings. Call a number just for our show, 800-543-9980, 800-543-9980, or you can also go to ringcentral.com and use the promo code TWiT. It is an amazing system. We've had it now for a year and couldn't be happier. Very, very easy to set up, configure, maintain. Zero startup costs, no PBX hardware. All sorts of nice features, including fax messages on your phone. In fact, I have the Ring Central app. All the Android and iPhone, there's Ring Central apps on all the major phones. Where is it? And so I can make a Ring Central call from my phone that looks like it's coming from the office line. A lot of producers like that because they want to be able to work with their cell phones, but they don't want to give out their cell phone number. Really great. RingCentral.com. Use the offer code Twitter. Call 800-543-9980. Ring Central. A lot of people want to advertise on the show. We have been sold out since day one, since 2004. So that's a nice luxury. I can turn down advertisers, and we do frequently, because if it's not something I like and use, I'm not going to talk about it. You can always believe me on that. Speaking of which, and I don't know, Anthony, this is a setup, isn't it? Do you work for FreshBooks?
Do I work for FreshBooks? No, I don't.
You sure? Because, FreshBooks is up your way in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've actually heard of FreshBooks, and I do use it once in a while. But the thing is, I'm using the free version, and on the free version, you can only use up to 3 contacts.
Right.
I'm looking for something I can keep on my
That's free?
My iMac.
You want something free? Oh, you want something... So the thing about FreshBooks, and they are an advertiser, it's online accounting, online small business accounting, but it's in the cloud. And so you're saying you want something that you could run on your computer.
Because I don't want to have the monthly expense of whatever they're charging.
Well, that's an interesting point. Now, we use, for our business, we use QuickBooks from Intuit. And we used to use the desktop software. Now, by the way, they don't do it for Macs. They only do it for Windows. When we used to use the desktop software, and what we found is the cost of upgrading yearly, because Intuit's not stupid, and this is true, I think, for most business accounting packages. In fact, most line of business software, you don't buy it once. You buy it fresh every year or every couple of years. And the cost is so high, we thought, it's actually cheaper to pay, I think it's $20 a month, something like that, for QuickBooks Online. So we ended up, and then it's always up to date. There's a lot of advantages to that, and I don't consider there privacy concerns as long as you use good, strong passwords, you change them regularly, things like that. So we actually do use an online accounting system, QuickBooks from Intuit, for my business, and I think that's what a lot of businesses use. And they're going to get you, because they're going to get you every month or every year or so. They're going to get you if you just do the desktop stuff. So I don't know, for the Macintosh, there are a lot of consumer-grade packages. There's like Ka-Ching and stuff like that. But I don't know, if those old days of buying a package like, Quicken and using it are still around. I don't think so. Maybe somebody can recommend a desktop accounting package for Macintosh. Even that phrase doesn't seem possible. I'll keep looking though for you, Anthony. I don't think it exists. I use Mint. Somebody in the chat room saying Mint's good, but Mint is not what he's looking for. You wouldn't want to run a business on Mint, but Mint is a great way. It replaces, in my opinion, Quicken, not QuickBooks, but Quicken for personal finance. And I do love it. You don't have to enter anything in. You just give it all your bank accounts, and it just tells you what's going on. But I wouldn't run a business on Mint. In fact, I don't think you could run a business on Mint. Cynical in the chat room, aptly named, says, "I'll give him my copy of Microsoft Money." See, they got out of the business. Microsoft got out of the business. John in Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, John.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome.
Thank you very much. You have an awesome show.
Thank you.
You're a great person. I am the proud father of a 10-year-old, and I take close to a zillion pictures between my high-end camera, my cell phone, and then an iPad. How can I organize, store, make little videos? And I'm willing to pay for a program.
Do you have a desktop computer?
Yeah, desktop computer that runs Windows.
Okay. I like Picasa, which is free. Picasa. It's very simple. It's got some basic editing capabilities. It's from Google. It's free. It ties into Picasa Web, which is their online photo storage site. If you want to get fancier, the next step up is, $299. That's Adobe's Lightroom, which I think, most pro photo enthusiasts and photographers use. It's called Lightroom. Excellent.
It's called Adobe what?
Adobe Lightroom. I would take a look at that. But that's mostly for. It's certainly for organizing and so forth and uploading. But what it mostly is used for is photo retouching, fixing, stuff like that.
Okay.
It's great. Now, there is something in between. So the free one, Picasa, and the high-end professional tool, Lightroom. Adobe also has something called Photoshop Elements, which is under $100 and is a great choice as well.
Thank you very, very much.
So there's three things. And I envy you because I tell you, when my kids were 10, we didn't have all these choices, and so I don't have all those pictures and videos. I have one video. The very first digital camera I got was my son. And he was learning how to read. He must have been about, 7. So that'd make it 2001. It was my first digital camera, and I have a 10-second video of him reading for the first time. And I wish I had more of that. You got to save all this stuff. Don't forget to back it up, okay?
Oh. And he does 2 or 3 sports simultaneously. So in addition to regular photos,
oh man,
constantly taking photos of sporting events.
So you're pretty serious. I think you should look at Lightroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'll love it. That's people like Trey Ratcliffe, who does those beautiful high dynamic range pictures, HDR. He uses Lightroom. Lightroom's only $149 now. Okay, at that point, I would say get it. Just get it. Don't even think about it. It's well worth it. What a great program that is, Mac or PC. Highly recommend it for the pros. Now, on the iPad, you say you use the iPad. I think the iPhoto app, $4.99, is great for the iPad. But something to be aware of if you shoot a camera raw A lot of pros turn their a feature on in their camera called Camera Raw, where you don't – normally the camera will take the picture, compress it into a JPEG, and then you download that. But in doing that, the camera's making a lot of decisions about the image and throwing away a lot of data. So if your camera has the capability, all high-end cameras do, many point-and-shoots now do, of adjusting it so that it's not shooting JPEGs, but it's shooting Camera Raw, you'll get every bit of information the camera's capturing. But it does require you to do some processing with something like Lightroom afterwards. And the reason I mention this is if you use iPhoto doesn't support Camera Raw. So you'll turn on RAW plus JPEG in your camera. Let iPhoto use the JPEGs for quick retouching and save the RAW to your desktop computer for later use, later work. Good combination of both. When I was in Norway, I took a lot of pictures. And for quick processing, just put them right on my iPad. Got a slideshow before I left. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, or suggestion, you just want to yell at me. Tom in Riverside, California. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, Tom.
I'm looking to replace a Garmin GPS in my car, and someone suggested to me maybe a tablet for a little bit more money, and I have a whole lot of other things with it. And one of the problems that I've found is that the tablets, from what I've researched, a lot of them don't work off satellites or something. And if you get into rural areas, they fail on the GPS. And I was looking for a tablet that has a GPS that would work in.
Okay. So let me explain all of this. So you have a standalone Garmin. It's not built into the dashboard.
Correct.
Yeah. So one of the nice things about a tablet is it's got a lot bigger screen, and in fact, if you get something like a Google Nexus 7 tablet, it doesn't. It's $200. It's cheaper than a Garmin.
Yeah.
They all have a GPS, unless there's some cases where they don't. A Wi-Fi only iPad, for instance, doesn't have a GPS chip, but almost all tablets you can get with GPS. That's not the issue. The issue generally is that the maps are downloaded as you go. That's actually both a pro and a con. It's a pro because they can be more up to date. For instance, I use a really great and I highly recommend it GPS program. It's free. It runs on iPhones, Android phones. It's a phone app, not a tablet app, called Waze, W-A-Z-E. Now, Waze does require a full-time internet connection, 3G or 4G, because what it's doing is it's collecting information about the roads ahead from other Waze users. So as you drive down the road, it notes your speed. If you say, hey, there's a policeman hiding behind that billboard there, and there actually is a facility so that you can do that, or there's a car pulled over, there's a hazard in the road, you can do that. Other Wazers are doing that. And in areas like where you are in Southern California, where there's thousands of Waze users, you have a very good picture of what's coming up. So that's an advantage. The disadvantage is if you're in a rural area where there's no 3G, where you can't get a data connection,
right?
Then you're not going to. Your GPS may still work. You'll know where you are, but you won't have any idea what the map looks like. Now, there are map apps. They cost money, not free. That download the map, and then you don't need full-time data. You merely need GPS.
Okay.
And those are usually around $100. Garmin actually, I think, makes one. I know most of the satellite companies make them. My favorite, though, is from a company called Motion X. And it kind of is a hybrid. You can download the maps ahead of time, or you can use online maps, depending on your situation. It's Motion X GPS Drive.
GPS Drive.
Yeah, love it. Many of these navigation apps now will do what this program does, which is cache the maps ahead of time. You have to know ahead of time you're going to go into a rural area, but it'll download the latest maps. And so those are, and in fact, even Google Maps now does a caching of the maps. So in those cases, you do not need internet access. You merely need GPS.
Okay. I was looking at a Vizio VTab 1008, and it says on their ad that it doesn't need 3G, doesn't need 4G, and doesn't need wireless. And then I would lose the other application.
That's an interesting way to sell something. It doesn't need it because it doesn't have it. They could just as easily have said, we don't have 3G. We don't have 4G.
Okay.
That's a very interesting spin to put on it. How much was that Vizio?
It was a couple $100.
I would get, without question, if that's the market you're in, the Google Nexus 7. $200.
Okay.
7-inch screen, beautiful 7-inch screen. It's gorgeous. You can use the free Google Maps app if you know you're going to be offline. Just download it ahead of time. Pre-cache it. There are a number of really great mapping apps also available that you can choose from. Yes, $200.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't get the Vizio. Now, the thing about the Nexus 7 is it's Wi-Fi. It is not 3G.
Only?
Yeah. Which is what the Vizio, I gather, is what the Vizio is, because they say you don't need 3G because we don't have it, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have some interesting issues. You could, if you have a phone that supports hotspotting, use your phone, or just pre-cache. Actually, let me see if this I wonder, does this have GPS in it? I think it does, yeah. And then then you need some sort of wireless connection. Do you have a smartphone?
Not at the moment.
Okay. That would be another way to go, which is if you had a smartphone, they all support GPS and mapping apps.
Yeah, my son has a smartphone, and we were using that in Arkansas when I was back there. But he ran into situations where it all froze up when we ran out of bars, and so we lost.
That's exactly it. So in that case, it's not that you lost the GPS. The GPS continues to work. It's satellite based. You lost internet access, and it was downloading the maps and the information from the internet.
Oh, okay.
So you just have to pre-cache that. Download it before you get out of the internet zone.
I see. Okay.
So, my opinion, I don't know why Garmin and Magellan and TomTom are still in business. I know TomTom is moving away from the standalone GPS because there's no market anymore because people have smartphones and tablets. Best GPS I ever used was just an iPad. You want to get the 3G iPad or the 4G iPad because you want internet access, and the GPS chip doesn't come unless you get that. But with that and MotionX GPS Drive, never get lost. Wonderful. Julie the nurse in our chat room says if you get a Nexus 7, which does have GPS, and then you use something she calls GPS Copilot, she says that works great. You'll just download the maps before you leave. Then you don't even use internet access. Nav-free downloads maps. Now, Toy Driver says, no, wrong. Garmin's far better than any smartphone. That's not been my experience, Toy Driver. Not at all. And in fact, one of the disadvantages of standalone GPS units is their maps get out of date. You have to update their maps. And so, as I mentioned, that's the pro and con of using these tablets or phones for GPS, is that they're always getting new maps. Waze is always up to date. In fact, it knows traffic conditions. It knows if there's roadkill in the road. I was stunned. I was driving through L.A., and it said, hey, watch out, 100 feet ahead, there's roadkill. And sure enough, there was. Well, that was great. It let me get out of that lane. That's the advantage of always-on internet, is the maps are more up to date. So I think Waze is a great choice, WAZE, if you've got internet access, full-time internet access. You dead possum in the road coming up. Steve in Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Leo. Nice to talk to you again. Before I ask about the intuition, there is still a large market for standalone GPSs.
Where is that?
Truck drivers.
Ah. Well, hang on, Steve. I'm going to get back to you. I hear the magic music. You will be next. We'll talk about this giant phone from LG right after the break. All right. I'm going to talk about Gazelle. So how about that, huh? What about them apples? You know what Gazelle is, right? Do you want to get a new gadget, a new iPhone 5? You could. Pay for it. I'm really curious, because we've been talking about Gazelle for a while. And one of the things I said with Gazelle is go out and get your quote on your iPhone 5 before they announce it, because, the quote's good for 30 days. And I figure, well, as soon as they announce it, the price is going to go down, right? But Gazelle does they do a funny thing. Let's just see. All right. My 4S, I do want to get rid of it now. It's AT&T. I have a 64 gig. $238. See, that's going to pay for the new phone. If it's in perfect condition, $262. And here's a beauty part. If you can get a check, a gift card from Amazon or PayPal, but if you get the Amazon gift card, they bump it 5%. So that's nice. That's an extra $13.10 just for getting an Amazon gift card. Gazelle is the way to sell all your old stuff, whether it's an iPhone. They have a variety of cell phones, BlackBerries, HTC, LG, Motorola, Nokia, Samsung, old iPads, iPods. You want to get the new Nano? Sell your old Nano. I actually have a 16-gig old Nano. It's in great condition. Actually, it's flawless. And then no personalization. $42. That's a nice little packet of change just for, why throw it in a drawer? If you got old computers, Apple TVs, Apple displays, GAZELLE, like the ungulate that runs across the African plains. Gazelle.com. It's the best way to recycle. Somebody who wants your device will get it, and you'll get some cash so you can buy the new device. Do they take the second generation? Let's see, Nano. They go back. No, only go back to the 4th gen. I'm sorry to say. Gazelle.com. You're going to love it. Use it. Make some money. Well, a good day to you. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And we're talking about computers. We're talking about the internet. We're talking about home theater and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you want to ask a question, make a comment, make a suggestion, or help me out. We occasionally, very rarely, get questions I can't answer, but when they do come in, I love it that we have a vast listening audience all over the country, all over the world, thanks to the internet, many of whom are experts in a variety of topics. We've got 1,000 people in the chat room. It's great. If you want to get in the chat room, by the way, the best way to do this is to go to our website, techguylabs.com. There's a link there to chat. There's all the show notes from previous 908 previous shows. There's question of the day, tip of the week, and all of that stuff. techguylabs.com. There's also a link to the chat room so you can join us and instructions about how to get in there and all that stuff. Chat room's fun. It's kind of it's like, at this point I feel like it's almost these are volunteer helpers. It's each of them represents a synapse in my brain. And I just watch the chat room and I learn. I find out what the real answers are. I'd love to have you in there. The kids in the back of the class says off P. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the most direct way to play. Now, we were talking to Steve in Memphis. Are you a truck driver, Steve? Is that why you say truck drivers need GPS, standalone GPS?
Well, yeah, because like Rand McNally, a large map producer here in the States, they have truck-specific GPSs that are for hazmat routes and stuff like that.
Yeah, you would need that. Although I wonder why there isn't an app for that.
Who knows? But Rand McNally just came out with a new one. It's a 7-inch screen, Wi-Fi, and it actually, you hotspot your phone. You can use it comes up with weather to let you know what the weather's going to be like, and traffic situations also.
Oh, that's great. So, but those are special purposes. Somebody was saying, well, if you're a hiker and you're going to be out for 4 days, you can't use a smartphone. Of course. I mean, there are special circumstances where a GPS is invaluable. But in general, I think that market is considerably shrunk.
It has, but the price is a little pricey on it. But right now, they're running lifetime updates for free.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah, you're going to see. Unfortunately, that's one of the side effects of this kind of transition is that the standalone units, because fewer people are buying them, will end up costing more.
Right.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So what do you think of that new Intuition? Because I was really hoping Verizon was going to get that Note. Still don't know about that, but now they got this Intuition.
AT&T is getting the Galaxy Note. The Note and the Intuition are the kind of current leaders in the giant screen category. The Galaxy Note 2 will be 5.5 inches. The Intuition is 5 inches, but the Intuition is kind of an odd duck because it's 4x3, so it's kind of a strange shape. It really looks more like an iPad, like a shrunken iPad, than anything else. It's kind of more square than it is long. It will be on Verizon. I
got the Hold one. It's pretty nice. I liked it. But
I like a big screen. I'm a fan of a big screen, and I have to say this. I haven't held the Intuition, so I don't know. It is out there. I should run over and take a look. It's it looks pretty thin and nice, and LG I think makes good phones.
See, what I like about it also is like the SD card actually goes in on the side of the phone. You don't have to take the battery out to get to it.
I agree. That's a nice feature. Anybody in the chat room using the Intuition?
But it doesn't have a spot for the stylus.
It uses a stylus, but doesn't have a holder?
No, it does not have a holder in the phone for the stylus.
That's weird. So you're just supposed to carry it around your neck?
I don't know, or in your pocket, or I have no idea. But I was just kind of curious what you thought of it, Leo, and I'll hop off here and you can finish up with whatever you got to say about it, and I'll let somebody else get in.
Thank you, Steve. Always great to talk to you. Really appreciate your listenership, if that should be a word. I haven't tried it. I better get one. I thought it was a joke because, they call the pen rubberdium. It's rubberdium pen because it's rubberized. It's a dual core. It is 5 inches, but it's to me it's a little strange looking because it's kind of so square. That just seems odd to me. I'm not sure I understand where they're going with that. I guess it's a differentiator, isn't it? I do think that the Galaxy Note is wonderful. I was a big fan of the Note. That's the 5.3-inch Samsung phone running Android. Both of these run Android. The newest Galaxy Note, the Note 2, will be out on AT&T, I'm sad to say, not Verizon, come November. That would be, if you had the choice, that would be my choice. But, of course, if you're not on AT&T, if you want to stay on Verizon, the Optimus is the choice. It's odd. It's a strange looking phone because it's here's the negative. Now, Steve, you're a truck driver. You probably have big hands. I don't know why. I just imagine you have big hands. But when something is 4x3, is more square, reaching across one hand operation gets difficult. In fact, one of the reasons that Apple elected to make its iPhone taller but not wider is for that very reason. They wanted you to still be able to use your thumb to navigate, even if you have small hands. So I don't know. I think probably the best thing to do is to hold the darn thing. It supports NFC. That's good. It has a stylus, even though it doesn't hold the stylus. It's running ice cream sandwich. That's good. I think if you were going to keep it in the cab of the truck, it'd be fine. It's just this is so wide. I don't know if you could fit in a pocket. We are still waiting. They said Verizon was going to get the Galaxy Note. I had heard, the rumors were it would be called the Journal. It would be available, but never did get it, and I don't know if they're going to get the Galaxy Note 2. Verizon's so committed to Droid, that they haven't really been great with the Samsung phones. I'm sure Samsung would love to get it on Verizon. There's no reason not to. There are pictures. Here's a picture from today in a fan blog, Droid Life, of a Verizon-branded Galaxy Note 2. It could be photoshopped. But I would say that indicates, even though Verizon has made no announcements, that it will do a LTE version of the Galaxy Note 2. Boy, that would be a nice one to look at. Okay, now I don't believe it because they have a second picture with the Verizon logo on the home button, and it doesn't even look centered. I'm thinking these are fakes now. I don't know. In a way, I hope it's a fake. Because I don't know if you know me, you know that one of the things I believe in strongly is not using and reviewing loaner phones. For a couple of reasons. I don't like the fact that when you get a loaner hardware device, the company calls you a lot. They say, well, what's your review? When are you going to publish it? And then if you don't like it, they go, oh, grumble, grumble. So I prefer to buy these things. The other reason is it's hard to tell if you like a phone when you just use it occasionally for a week. I think you really can't tell if a phone's good or not unless you commit. You put aside all others, and you use that phone for at least a few weeks exclusively. Now, that takes some severe dedication. And I'm just the guy to do it. I have accounts, paid accounts with all the carriers, and I will be trying. The problem is this fall, we've got a lot of good phones to talk about. I'll talk about the choices you and I both have right after the break. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Yeah, that was the Palm Pre. Was the last loaner phone I got. Now, for before you buy, we do get loaner phones, but I generally don't look at those. I like to because I don't want to look at the kind of off brands or the second also brands. I let Nicole and the gang do those. But basically, I want to try what I consider to be and is widely considered to be the top contenders in each sphere: Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. So I did get a Verizon because we have LTE here, so I wanted to try Verizon LTE here. So I got a Verizon LTE iPhone 5 that's coming Friday. I still have the S3, which I use. That's my day-to-day phone. I really like. That's on AT&T. But then here comes the Note 2 and the Lumia 920 on AT&T. Yay. And I feel like I should try both of those. I'm not going to tell you what happened when we dropped the phones from the roof. You're going to have to watch before you buy on Tuesday. But we did. We dropped an iPhone and a Galaxy S3 from the roof. And I'll be putting my iPad in water on Tuesday as well. So, this is my dilemma. Is AT&T? I hope AT&T. I guess I'm gonna have to have two AT&T phones. I'm gonna have to trade in the S3 for a Note 2 and buy a Lumia 920 as well.
Go to stamps.com before you do anything else. Click the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in stamps.com.
Decisions. Do you think really Verizon will have the Galaxy Note 2? That would be kind of... We know that the October 21st date has now been confirmed, I think, for the Galaxy Note 2 and the Lumia 920, which is really good news. I really wanted Lumia 920. This is CNET. I wonder if this is quad-core Galaxy Note 2 heading to Verizon. Boy, that would be great. Jelly Bean. Oh, wow. This is according to Brief Mobile. See, these are all rumors. That's the problem. According to a reputable source who handed us the following screenshot from the device. These could be so easily faked. Samsung's first multi-carrier release of the Note. I love the Note. I'm a big fan of the Note. Quad-core Exynos and 4G. Huh. So they say even the home button is branded. Boy, that's ugly. That's really ugly. U.S. Cellular. Galaxy Note 2 coming to every single major American carrier. AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, and U.S. Cellular. Huh. Wow. Sounds like it's real. Werde vi shall see. You know, I keep waiting for Jelly Bean. They said it would come sooner than this, and it still is not out. So. On the S3.
I've had choices since the day that I was born. There were voices that told me right from wrong. If I had listened.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
No, I wouldn't.
Kyle Benham, our musical director, puts his playlist on the website, techguylabs.com, after every show. We also have it on his Google Plus stream. Kyle's the last guy still using Google Plus. KYLE space BENHAM. So, it's a very crowded smartphone marketplace this fall. Very crowded. Now that the iPhone 5 is out, we all can kind of start to breathe and think about, well, if you want to get a new phone this fall, what are you going to get? Now, I'll tell you, here, in my opinion, are your choices. I really like the Galaxy S3. This has been out for a while from Samsung. It's their top of the line right now, their top of the line Android phone. I think it's very good, very fast, beautiful screen, good quality. It's still a strong contender. I think the iPhone 5 is going to be a strong contender. But I won't know for sure till I have one in my hands and have used it for a couple of weeks. And I will, I ordered mine. I'll get it Friday. Now, October 21st, we've got two new phones coming out, at least on AT&T and maybe on other carriers, and that's Samsung's Galaxy Note 2. I really liked the Note when it first came out. The original Note was 5.3-inch screen, giant screen. It had a built-in stylus. The Note 2 is even bigger, 5.5 inches, built-in stylus. I really like it. It's kind of a cross between a tablet and a phone, but gives you a lot of the it's so thin that it doesn't feel that big. I really liked it. But not for everyone, I recognize. And let's not forget, there's a dark horse in this race that I think could end up being the best phone of the year. The Nokia, believe it or not, Lumia 920. This is a new Windows 8 phone. Again, this will be available, I think, October 21st on AT&T. It's going to have probably the best camera on the market. It's Windows 8, which is much updated by Microsoft, and I think a more mature operating system than Windows Phone 7. And I liked Windows Phone 7 a lot. It's going to have a gorgeous screen. I think this might be one to look at. So those are the four. That's the matrix, I would say. And a lot of people like droids, and there's some the Droid HD is nice, the HD Max. There's some good phones out there. But I think those are the kind of the leaders. The iPhone 5, the Galaxy S3, the Galaxy Note 2, and the Lumia 920. And I shall be carrying them all at one point or another over the next few months. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. And as I said, there's still a lot of other good Android phones out there. You have a lot of choices. You should pick exactly the one that suits you the best. Go try them. Esther, Los Angeles, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello?
Hi, Esther.
Oh, hi. I've not been able to get on my computer for like 2 weeks. I called my internet server, and they said my modem they weren't receiving anything from it.
Esther, when you say you can't get on your computer, do you mean you can't get on the internet? The computer won't start up? What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, it says, sorry, there are no internet services available.
Okay, so the computer's working.
Okay.
Well, is it?
Well, it's on.
Yeah, it's on. You see a screen, you see windows, you see icons, you see menus, all that stuff.
Yeah,
but when you open your browser, it says, I'm sorry, there's no internet.
Right. Okay. Like I said, they sent me a modem because I wasn't getting any service, and they could read it. Excuse me, from where they were at. They said, your modem doesn't seem to be receiving anything. We'll send you a new one.
Did they ask you to unplug it and plug it in again first?
Yeah, I've done that over and over
Okay,
again.
Good. All right. So they said maybe the modem died.
Yeah, so they sent me a new one.
And I'm guessing that didn't fix it.
fix it. And I just wanted to say I have Verizon phone service, and they put fiber optic wires in my phone, like a new line outside. And it seems like since they put that in, I haven't been able to get on the internet.
That's interesting. Who's your internet service provider?
DSL.
DSL Extreme?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. DSL Extreme.
Yeah, this is, DSL Extreme, who is a sponsor, I want to say up front.
Right, that's
and I know these guys and I love them. The problem that they have is, as an independent internet service provider, they ride on the lines that your phone company provides, whether it's Verizon or somebody else. And unfortunately, because Verizon, AT&T, and all these other companies also sell DSL service, they don't really like anybody else. They're required by the FCC to give DSL Extreme and other companies access, but they often make it difficult for them. And it sounds like what happened, and this is illegal, but they do it all the time. Verizon put in Fios in your neighborhood. They put fiber in your neighborhood, didn't they?
Right.
And when they put in the Fios, they have a very nasty habit of cutting the copper lines. They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to do that, but I think they did. And what happens then is that's the lines that DSL Extreme requires to provide you with internet service. They cut the wire to DSL Extreme. That's why DSL Extreme can't see your modem.
Yeah. And it happened like I didn't get on the computer for a few days.
But it was right about when they put that in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this is a well-known little thing that Verizon does. Hey, we put in fiber. You don't need this copper anymore. Your phone service is fiber. And they cut it, but they shouldn't cut it. It's yours. It's not theirs to cut.
Yeah.
They, unfortunately, now that they've cut it, I'm afraid you're kind of out of luck.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I don't. You can call them. You can ask them, hey, Verizon, when you put in the fiber, did you cut my copper?
Okay.
And see, you need to get a supervisor. They're going to deny it.
Mm-hmm. But it happened right after they put that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. It's a known thing they do.
I was using my computer. I just got a new one. I was using it fine. And
yeah. Now, did Verizon come to you and say, oh, and by the way, we now have internet service?
No, but they're trying to bundle it all.
Yeah, they want you to buy Fios.
Yeah.
So this is where, unfortunately, an independent – this is highly illegal, by the way – an independent internet service provider like DSL Extreme is really at the mercy of these companies. So I would call DSL Extreme – you probably, when you talk to them, you didn't mention this. If you tell them that, they'll go, oh, and then maybe there's something they can do. They can act in your behalf. One of the things I like about internet –
they're going to come out and check out.
Yeah, and that's what I have a feeling this is what they're going to tell you. Somebody cut the copper. And the copper is what they need. They cannot operate over fiber.
But I signed up for like a year, so I'm going to...
Well, I don't... Yeah, that's another... If you have any trouble with that, send me an email. I'll make sure that George knows, and we'll take care of that.
Okay.
But the people you should be angry at this point are Verizon. That's an anti-competitive move. They cut your copper. They cut off DSL Extreme, and now they're saying, hey, by the way, we got internet service as well, huh? That's just so messed up. Oh, yeah, they cut the copper. Absolutely. That's what they do it all the time. Ask Dr. Mom. Didn't they try to cut your copper, Dr. Mom? You had to stop them. Well, I don't know if they're allowed. I think the municipal... okay, so Dr. Mom says they're allowed to. You talked them out of it. I think this may be a gray area. I think that you are protected, but I think good luck in getting the FCC involved. She has no, you don't understand. She has DSL Extreme, which was over the Verizon copper. Verizon put in Fios in her neighborhood and cut the copper, which is they typically do. It's my understanding they're not supposed to cut the copper. But, of course, once they do that, DSL Extreme no longer works. Yeah. I think that, she should probably call the PUC. I think this is probably a gray area, and I don't... No, she was very clear. Rural urbanite. She said DSL extreme. She was very clear. And the question is what DSL extreme can do. I'm going to send him a note and ask him. Well, she probably got fiber phone service. She didn't get fiber internet service. She had copper internet service. The copper was cut, so she no longer has it. I would guess that that's illegal, but I don't know. And I think it's an FCC issue, and it's maybe a state public utilities commission issue. It doesn't seem right. No, she was clear 4480. She knew exactly what was going on. She told me DSL extreme, FiOS. So I have to do a little investigating because I don't actually know what the law is on this. It certainly seems wrong, and I would imagine there'd be some FCC regulations on this. So our last caller, Esther, poor Esther, had internet service over her copper phone lines, as many do. Now, the FCC regulations require that your incumbent phone company, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, whoever, open up their offices to independent internet service providers. It's not that way on cable, by the way. They have different rules for cable. If you have, generally, most people have two fat pipes coming into the house. They have copper telephone line, and they have coaxial cable. Actually, it's copper too, but they have two fat pipes, and either one can give you internet service, your cable company or your phone company. And in most areas, both do offer internet service over those wires. They own the wires. The FCC has always said to cable companies, no, you can restrict access to those wires to yourself. Only the cable company can offer internet access over a cable. But they changed the rules for phone companies. I guess because they're older, they put the copper in years ago. I'm not sure why, but they said, no, phone companies, you have to let other companies offer internet service over your copper. You own the copper, but they have to be able to put a switch in your central office that's connected up to the internet that lets people buy internet from you. DSL Extreme is one of these. In fact, in California, there's a whole organization of independent internet service providers, CISPA. And these are the kinds of issues CISPA is constantly fighting. I'm going to have to call CISPA and ask them about this. Because what Verizon's been doing, as you may know, as they go around the country, they have been upgrading the copper that they provide you with their phone service. They've been upgrading it to fiber optic cable. And at the same time, offering a bundle of services, not just telephone service, but also internet and TV service. Now, normally when somebody comes in and puts fiber into your house, now that would, one would guess, give you three fat pipes: fiber, telephone, and cable. But Verizon has been, and this is a well-known fact, after they put in the fiber, cutting the copper. They don't have to. There's no technical reason for doing it. They just cut it off. There's a problem, of course. Because now, by cutting that copper, they've cut access from the independent internet service provider as well. And I'm not sure, and I'll ask CISPA, what happens then? Who's responsible? Are they allowed to do that? Is there any recourse? It's what happened to Esther, I'm pretty sure. And it doesn't on the surface of it, it seems wrong. It seems anti-competitive. Now, it may be if when DSL Extreme comes out, Esther, they say, yeah, that's what happened, but we can offer you internet service over the fiber. They would have to switch your service, switch your box. It'd be a whole different thing. You can, if you catch them doing this, by the way. I know because one of our chatters, Dr. Mom in the chat room, almost had the same thing happen to her, but she said, no, don't cut the copper. And they said, okay, we won't. She stopped them. So it's and of course, cut the copper is a broad term. It could be a lot of different things. It could be they literally disconnected it at the telephone pole. It could be they just took a scissors and cut it off. But however they did it, they disconnected your access to DSL Extreme. It could have been a big axe. I don't know. It's an if anybody understands this and knows about it, let me know. Otherwise, during the week this week, I will call my friends at DSL Extreme or somebody at CISPA, and I'll find out what the rules and regulations. It might be worth calling your Public Utility Commission and asking them. And it may be they'd go, huh? Maybe ask DSL Extreme. It's certainly this would be a problem for them if this were happening in a widespread fashion. It doesn't seem right. Deborah in Los Angeles, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Deborah.
Yes, hi. I have a question regarding targeted email blasts.
Okay. You want to do them or you want to stop them?
No, I want to do them, and I only want to send them to people who ask to be sent emails.
Okay.
So I have a little organic tamale business. It's based in Los Angeles.
Yay, that sounds great.
I know. It's really fun, too. For the first couple of years, we just did festivals and events, and we accrued a pretty sizable email list. And then about a year ago, I stumbled onto this new business model, which has really been working for us, where basically a couple times a week, I make an announcement that I'm going to be delivering in a certain area, Orange County, or maybe Santa Monica, or the West Side, and I announce in advance. I post it on my website and Twitter and Facebook, and I send targeted email blasts to the people on my list who work and live in that neighborhood.
Oh, that's a good idea, because maybe they're not seeing the Twitter, but they would then they get an email saying, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood.
Exactly right, and most of my business comes from those email blasts. And so people...
So it's important to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's been happening lately is things have been getting kind of out of control. My email list has gotten to be close to 1,000 people, and I'm not always doing the same route every single time. So the email list changes. It's not static. One example might be if I'm coming from Los Angeles and I have a meeting with a vendor in San Diego, well, if I'm going all the way there, I might as well hit everybody along my route. So
bring the tamale truck, yeah.
Well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to include all of Orange County because that would be like sometimes going over an hour out of my way. So I'm spending an inordinate amount of time making sure I've included the right people and not sending the blast to people who aren't relevant. And I just want to know, like, ideally, if there's an app or a program, if you could picture a map of Southern California.
Right. So the problem is that you can't tell where somebody is from their email. You have to collect that information.
Well, I have their address and their zip code.
Okay.
So that's how I know where they are. Because
right. And then what do you have it in a spreadsheet and then you sort it by zip code or something like that?
Oh, you would be so horrified at how I do this.
By hand.
I mean, seriously, what I started out when it was small is I have a Word document with groups of people that I've grouped into, like, it's just an endless document at this point. And I can pull people up by zip code, but there's so many zip codes in LA, and it's not really what I want. So if I could just circle an area on the map.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know of anything like that. So, yeah, what you'd want is, it wouldn't be so hard to write, is something that ties into the Google Maps API that you just dump all the addresses in there, and then you have a map and you have little pins where everybody is, and then you draw a circle, your radius, and you say, please email everybody in this radius.
That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does that. That's a great idea.
Well, for me, it's a great idea. I don't even know if anyone else is doing their business this way, but it's really working.
No, this is a good business. This is something clever. Now, there are, of course, email services like Constant Contact and MailChimp and so forth. But I presume you're using something like that once you figure out who you want to email to.
No, I'm a little one-woman show here, and I was a graphic designer, and I did a bunch of web stuff for my previous job. So I'm sending the email blasts myself. They're cute, and they're basic. I do everything myself, and I don't mind sending groups of 20 at a time if I need to, because I'm always doing other things in front of the computer.
My goodness, look at this. Guess who has this? MailChimp does geolocation.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
That's really interesting. So MailChimp is cool. MailChimp is an email service that's actually free for a small number of people, which you probably are qualified for. Lets you segment your list by zip code. Wow. I'll talk more about it when we get back. That is cool. When you set up your campaign and choose the list you want to send to, you'll want to click on Send to a segment of list, then select address from the leftmost drop-down
It's a crazy
menu,
world we live in.
and they say is within distance. So you could say everybody within 5 miles of 94952 should get this, and they will. That is awesome. That is fan. And they've had this since 2009. I guess it was obvious, huh? I guess it was obvious. I didn't know that. Wow. That's neat. So, of course, this is only going to work, and I'll talk about this when I get back, with people who opt in, who have given you that information. Now, this is very interesting, this copper thing. Here's a report from ABC News. FiOS problem. What is the location on this? Oh, it's too short. Some consumer advocates, blah blah blah. So this is. She spoke to a supervisor of Verizon and said, no, you can't have DSL. FiOS was installed here. You have a fiber optic cable and you cannot downgrade to DSL. When Verizon makes FiOS services available via its all-fiber network, it installs a fiber optic line from a utility pole and disconnects the copper wire. Consumer groups allege sometimes the wire is even removed. But the copper wire enabled you not only to get Verizon service, it also enabled you to get phone and internet service from smaller companies that lease that wire. Verizon says it doesn't remove the copper wire, and its policy is to accommodate a switch back to copper. And you can complain with the PUC. And the FCC is supposed to get a notice. Oh, well, I guess it's not working. Wow. Yeah, so this is obviously a widespread problem. And I don't know what the solution is to it. Hey, what's that? Looks like Dickie D. Ricardo.
Yes, how are you? I'm just here splicing my copper wire back together.
Now, you got FiOS.
No, I wish I did.
What?
No.
I thought that was the whole deal.
No. Boy, I wish I had FiOS.
So you can only get copper?
I can only get copper here.
It'd be nice if you could.
Yeah, it's a little brownstone, so they don't care about little brownstones. They want big buildings. Right. They want big stuff. If Dr. Mom was a friend, she would just string a wire from her house.
There's no FiOS in New York City at all. Wow. That's too bad. That's all right. I don't have FiOS either. I shouldn't admit this, but I'm very happy with my high-speed Comcast connection.
Oh.
It's very fast.
Actually, the Time Warner thing is pretty good, too.
Yeah, cable tends to be pretty fast. Do-do, do-do-do, do-do, 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 do-do-do. What was I talking about that I was going to say some more? I forgot.
Here, I'll tell you. Along with a carbonite live read.
Okay.
You know what longitude, latitude, longitude do. You know what longitude, latitude mean. Longitude, latitude, longitude.
I don't know. Do I know what longitude, longitude means? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We were talking to Deborah, who has a organic tamale business. What a neat idea. And now, very important to emphasize, because everybody's going, don't help a spammer. You're not spamming.
No.
Yeah. So you, and by the way, everybody, I wish everybody did this. Make sure when somebody signs up that here's some people every once in a while that mess with me will sign me up for 100 different mailing lists.
No.
And,
I don't.
And the way that it should work is that if somebody requests to be on a mailing list, you then send an email to that address saying, "Do you really want to be in?" And you check, and then they click a link, and now they're on it. Because otherwise, people can sign other people up, and that's not nice.
Right.
So good, you do that, right?
Everybody gets sent as a blind CC, and there's always an option to unsubscribe every time. And I rarely get.
And I would, you're getting bigger as you get bigger. I would make sure that people can't sign somebody else up, that they have to confirm their interest before you actually add them.
Okay.
You see what I mean? That you send them an email saying, "Did you really sign up? Is this really your address? Is this your zip code?" They say yes, then you add them, not until then.
Okay, so noted.
Yeah, because, again, people will sign me up for junk all the time, and now I have to go through unsubscribing. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So now that's step one. Step two is you're going to now move to a more professional. You're going to run into trouble with your internet service provider quickly, because if you start sending a lot of emails, they think you're spamming, and they'll cut you off.
Well, that's why I do small groups at a time.
Right. Well, what I would suggest is going to this company, MailChimp. It's free for the first 2,000 subscribers. 12,000 emails a month is free. And they do, now they may not do it for free, I'll have to check, but they do exactly what you want. You'll enter in a zip code where you're going to be, and you'll say, email everybody on my list that's within 5 miles or 4 miles or 1 mile or 25 miles of this. And they will send email just to them.
I love it.
Isn't that great?
That's amazing.
I know. I wouldn't have known if you hadn't asked. It's a feature of MailChimp. So not an advertiser, but this sounds like it's exactly what you want. I'm not sure if the free service will give you that kind of geolocating that you want, but it's worth it checking it out.
Well, at this point, it's worth it, because the time-consuming, like just getting the list together, is killing me. So the only thing it won't do then is if I'm doing an elongated route along like the 5 highway.
Well, what you do is you pick a zip code in each, yeah, right. You can't send it. You can't say, "I'm driving to San Diego, email everybody on my way."
Well, that's what I do.
But, you could do it, in effect, by picking a few zip codes along the way and making it there.
Right, and then do maybe like a 5-mile radius in each zip code.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's great, Leo. Thank you very much. That's so helpful.
Oh, I'm glad to help you. What's the name of your business?
It's called La Güera Tamalera, which means the white girl tamale maker. And
do you have a website?
GTtamales.com.
Say it again?
GTtamales.com. GT stands for Güera Tamalera.
GTtamales.com. And I would guess that they could sign up there. And if you're in Southern California, you might want to sign up to get that mail blast.
Yeah, I try to hit every area once a month. It's not, you don't get bombarded with anything. And it's free delivery with just a minimum of 2 tamales, and that's completely cost-effective for me if everybody in the same area is ordering.
What a great little business. How did you hit on this?
Oh, it was a complete accident. It was about a year ago. Because I have a minimum order of a dozen normally to deliver, and I was delivering a dozen, and I had to drive about 30 minutes, and I'm like, I can't believe I have to go all the way there for just a dozen tamales. And I thought, I wonder if everybody in the neighborhood knew I was coming, if anyone else would be interested in tamales. And I just sent out, I know where my customers live and work. I've met most of them personally when I do, art walks.
This is the new thing, Deborah, because food trucks do this, and there's a creme brulee guy in San Francisco, of course, and the creme brulee guy goes around in a truck, and he'll tweet "I'm going to be at Dolores Park in 2 hours. Come get creme brulee."
Right, and the trucks do that, but I have to do it where you have to RSVP the day before, because everything is made to order, and that way I'm not throwing away any food. I don't have to pay a percentage to any kind of a street fair or a farmer's market, and I don't have to hire 5 employees.
Deborah, good luck. Try MailChimp. We got to run, but thank you, and good luck with La Güera Tamalera. GT Tamale. I love giving people plugs for their small businesses. That's great. GTtamales.com. Dick DeBartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. And the Gizwiz, our gadget guy. Are you a backup? Do you back up?
Carbonite took a 3-year renewal.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, there you go. Unsolicited testimonial.
Yes.
So what do you got for us today, Dick?
A neat little gadget that is just coming on the market. I only got to play with it for a little bit of time at a Showstoppers event this past Monday. It's called Touchfire, and it is the screen top keyboard for iPad. Now, I met the CEO. It's a Kickstarter project. They were looking for $10,000. They got $200,000.
Wow.
So, yes. So they were able to produce this. And basically, it's a clear silicon keyboard, lays over the virtual keyboard, but it gives you an actual place for your fingers to sit. So if you're a touch typist, it gives you the feeling you are actually using a keyboard. It's clear. There are no real keys on here. But the fact that you can put your fingers down without mistyping or hitting the key next to it, it makes it really a fast way to type. And each reporter had it for like 2 minutes. But I found I could type pretty fast and error-free. This guy's already had 4,400 pre-orders before they even made it. Yeah, I know. It sells for $49, and it's held in place magnetically by the magnets on the iPad. If you have the smart cover, when you close the smart cover and raise it, the keyboard goes with it. But if you want the keyboard to stay down, you put your smart cover down, hold the little tab, and then the smart cover goes up with the little keypad in place. And it comes with a little carrying case if you don't have the smart pad cover. $49.99, and they're at Touchfire.
How much?
Yeah, I know. It's a little high.
You said
$49.
$50?
$50.
It's a piece of rubber, Dick.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a 50-cent piece of rubber. $50?
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? Hang on. Maybe in 4 or 5 weeks.
There's no mechanical stuff, right? It's just a piece of rubber.
No. I know. I was a little taken aback also. Especially since they raised so much money.
I thought Apple was overcharging $30 for the rubber bumper they put on the iPhone that must cost them 10 cents. This is
yes. This could be Yeah, it's chutzpah.com. No, I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's touchfire.com.
Now there are some advantages. It works with the smart cover,
the magnetic thing.
Yeah,
it has some nice little features. But you're right. It is on the high side.
I guess I should consider the value I get, not how much it cost them to make.
Well, that's true. Especially since if it was a mom and pop thing, you go, they have to get their money back. But since they raised $200,000 looking for $10,000, you would think it could come. Yeah. If it sold for $25, they'd probably sell twice as many.
Wow. Well, there you go.
But I just report on this stuff. I don't do their business.
If you need a rubber keyboard for your iPad, there you go. It's touchfire.com.
Yes, sir.
Dick DeBartolo.
Wait, the tamale lady's at the door. I'll be right back.
All right. Go get your tamales. We are going to be a little late getting to the Giz Fizz. Did I tell you this? Because we're going to do a taping.
Yes, you're going to do an hour, and then Giz Fizz at 6 or so.
So hang in there, folks. I'm going to continue to take calls. If we didn't get to your call, hang in there. I'll continue to take calls for another hour at 8888 Ask Leo. We're taping ahead. So keep those phone calls coming. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the TWiT Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.